When testing all of the money makers I do, I come across some really unusual ones that I know hardly anyone knows about, and some are actually really good money, but they don't make it into a video for various reasons. But I thought it'd be fun just to show you all of these weird money makers, and also the worst money maker in old school RuneScape's history that is so bad, even the bots refuse to do it. But first, as always, there's a bond hidden within the video, and the first person to find it and post the time and location with their username gets it. First up, we have Bullseye lanterns. Would you believe the simple act of adding a lantern lens to an unfinished Bullseye lantern makes you this much money? Making each one has various processes. It starts with smithing the body of the lantern using a steel bar and an anvil, before adding a lantern lens created in crafting with some molten glass and a glass blowing pipe, before finally adding swamp tar using the chemist in Rimington. Each step of that process is tradable, and for some unknown reason, the step of adding the lens, which is probably the easiest part, makes you around 300 GP. And for context, it's about the same speed as adding a seed to a plant pot. So in 7 minutes I made 500 with a profit of 150,000 GP, and that works out at almost 1.3 million GP per hour for something this simple. The method never made a video before because it's a low trade limit, meaning if a lot of people do it the price will crash. With this one though, you can also add in the swamp tar to make it a complete Bullseye lantern in Rimington, but that part of the process is slower and will lower your profit to around 800,000 GP per hour, but they are much easier to sell. It's been 6 months since I squeezed dragon implings into a video, so here is another one. I've done a few videos already on how people pay millions of GP for you to spot dragon implings for them in the Grotto Discord, but the places I found for that method are actually good money just on their own. There's 2 areas in the Tree Gnome stronghold by the Tortoise Pen where the implings get stuck, and there's a lot of spawns in the area, so hopping worlds in the one spot is a great way to get lots of them. Using the Runelight Implings add-on, you can select what imps are visible on your minimap, and since the jars are around 1000 GP each, I turned off Baby, Young and Earth and just left all of the others on. In half an hour here, I spotted 1 dragon impling, which you can catch or still sell using the Discord if you want, as people do still pay 1 to 2.5 million GP each. But even if you aren't selling them, I made just under 800,000 GP after you take out the price of the jars in 30 minutes, so 1.6 million per hour just catching imps. I also wanted to test out the sleep spot, which is notoriously quiet, so you tend to find a lot more dragon implings here but less of the other ones. After 4 minutes I found a lucky imp, which is actually really rare, to be honest, you don't see many of those, so I offered it to an Iron Man on the Discord and he got it for an incredible reward of 14 death runes. Unlucky. Right at the end I also found a dragon impling, which I'll include in the numbers, but I let the Iron Man get it as well because these things are pretty huge for them. I lost a lot of time waiting on the lucky impling here, but even still it worked out at 1.2 million GP per hour if you're catching the dragon impling yourself, and of course you have a chance to snag that piece of 3rd age or 14 death runes. Next up we have the worst money maker in the history of old school RuneScape. I mean, this could actually be worse than picking flax, and the worst part is someone's actually doing it. Muddy keys can be opened in the chest in level 43 wilderness in the middle of the lava maze by the steel plate body spawn, and the keys are 3000 GP each, with the loot you get being worth 3,500 GP. Although to be efficient you're going to want to drop the mithril dagger and you can open 8 at a time instead of 6, taking your profit down to 426 GP each. But you also need a Rev Cave teleport, so now you're making 381 GP per key. Nonetheless, I tested this in the most efficient possible way, giving it as much dedication as I would to any other moneymaker. I used the Rev teleport and stepping stones to the north to make it even faster, a level 30 teleport when coming back, used the slightly better A key method, and to do one run took me 3 minutes. That works out at a profit of 3000 GP per run, which is 60,000 GP per hour, if you don't die, of course, which is fairly likely in high wilderness, in which case you lose 30,000 GP every time. It is possible I'm missing something, but if not, this is the worst moneymaker ever that people actually do. It must be, surely. Next we have possibly the most annoying chest, but it's actually decent money if you're a low level. There's a chest in the cave on the Isle of Souls that you can thieve at level 28. Although the success rate does go up as you level up. If you're low level, you want to bring an anti-dragon shield as well for the blue dragons here, and the chest gives you a good amount of gems and herbs, so if you have a gem sack or herb sack you want to bring those. Occasionally if you fail you get teleported out of the dungeon, and you have to run back, which if it happens a few times in quick succession is very, very annoying. In the chest you could also get a dark key which opens another chest in the basement of the crumbling tower. So I did this method until I got one to see just how much money I can make. After 15 minutes I got my first key and made about 50k from the herbs in the herb sack and the other loot, plus the key, whilst making 36,000 thieving XP per hour. The average loot from the key is 25,000 GP, so this method is around 300,000 GP per hour. Not the best, but an interesting one I found that I'd never ever seen or heard of before, and good for Iron Men who just want some gems and herbs. Another random thieving method that you can do is the wire machine in Dorgish Khan, which requires 44 thieving. These can be used in a very strange way of repairing the lighting system here for some crafting XP. But the whole process requires 87 crafting and takes a long time for the XP given. Instead, this machine has become more of a collector's item, and each one is worth a very tidy 900 GP for such a low requirement of just 44 thieving. It took me 3 minutes for one inventory, so that's around 500,000 GP per hour. In the Desert Bandit camp there is also another item with very little use. But this is old school RuneScape, so of course people massively overpay for it. I mean, why not? If you have a Camulet with unlimited charges, although I must warn you this thing costs 1 million GP to do, you get unlimited teleports just south of this camp. So by using this in the ring of dueling to Castle Wars, you can quickly go back and forth to the camp. The Bandit's brew costs 650 GP from the bar here, and people pay double that. Unlike other bars, the interface is like a shop, so you can buy 10 at a time, hot worlds and just repeat, making you 18,000 GP per trip. I only did 3 minutes on this one because randomly there was another dragon in-playing here, so I called my new Iron Man best friend and he still didn't get the item he wanted. Unlucky. Even still, in 3 minutes this method made me 50,000 GP, and that worked out a very nice 1 million GP per hour. Although doing this method for any length of time will crash the item because there's just not enough people that buy them. The final method is just amazing, and I've known about it for a long time, but it has a similar problem. 1 or 2 players could make absolute bank from doing this, but there's just not enough for everyone. But what a method. There's some Fremennik armour that you can actually create, but the items required are from creatures that are rarely killed, such as king sandcrabs and the walrus things that I have no idea how to actually pronounce. The combination of that, as well as the fact that you don't make the armour, you take it to various Fremennik, seems to mean no one is actually doing it, and the profit margin is currently insane. Right now, the best profit margin seems to be the helm, so I bought a few of the things that I needed for each. For rock shell armour, you need some rock shell shards, Dagonoth hides and GP. For skeletal, you need a skull piece, Dagonoth hides and some GP. I threw some offers in the G and they instantly bought, and you may notice that the skull piece is bought for 14,000 less than the current price, and this happens a lot as very few people buy them. So sellers drop the price when they have sat in the G for a while, meaning you can also pick up a lot of bargains. However, this is the average market price just to show you that it actually works for that price too. And in total, everything that I bought with my cash stack was worth just under 1.4 million GP, and then this happened.
Close your eyes.
In just 1 minute and 9 seconds, I made 180,000 GP. But it doesn't stop there, because I noticed that the G average price for Rockshire Helms was saying a lot more. So I chucked them on the G and they instantly sold for far more, meaning I made 260,000 GP. And it gets even better. because even if no one was currently buying these, I could have high out them for 21,000 GP, which was still 10,000 GP profit each. With banking, that works out at a crazy 10 million GP per hour. Sadly though, all of you can't do this because it's a tiny market and you'll all crash the item, and I can't do it because my kids are expensive and I had to use this for content.
Dad, can I have some money?
Sad times.